Everyone. Just give us one moment while we get our cameras together. But we want to say welcome to another episode of Cooking Connected. My name is Sajwa, and I am one of the Cooking Matters coordinators. I'm here with my coworker, Jordan. Want to say hi, Jordan?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back.
All right, so we're excited for you guys to be joining us. I know it's been a little bit, but both Jordan and I work with Cooking Matters Minnesota and the University of Minnesota Extension. So a normal Cooking Matters class is a 6-week nutrition-based cooking class, and we usually meet once a week for about 2 hours. Classes feature a nutrition educator and a chef who work together to teach participants about nutrition and how to make a healthy and delicious, affordable meal. So today I'll be our nutrition educator, and then we have Jordan here acting as our chef. So following that same format, today we're going to be doing a really fun recipe. It's the chickpea vegetable nuggets, and then we're also going to be doing the Chipotle yogurt dip to go along with that. And we'd love to thank the creator of this recipe, Taesha. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. I am so sorry. But that's going to be with thenaturalnurturer.com. So please check that recipe out. All of that information, as well as the Chipotle yogurt dip, is going to be in the description box or in the live chat below. And then just like every week, we do have a survey for you guys. If you don't mind taking a little time out of your day to do this survey, it really helps us continue this kind of work and improve as we go. So today's survey code, oh my, you can't see me. Okay. Today's survey code, program code is going to be E098987. And I'm going to say that again just because it's not showing up on my camera. So that's going to be E098987. And of course, we're going to pop that in the description box of this video, and we'll put it in the live chat too. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it along to Jordan.
Awesome. Thanks, Sajwa. Welcome back, everyone. It has been a little while since we've been with you, so we're excited to be back. As Sajwa was saying, we are going to be making the vegetable chickpea nuggets. So it's kind of like a chicken nugget substitute, but don't think chicken nuggets, think vegetables, because if you think chicken nuggets, you might be a little disappointed because it's not chicken. But we do get some awesome protein with this recipe as well. So this is a really great recipe that's super quick. It kind of throws together, if you have a food processor, a blender, it just kind of dumps all into one. If you don't have those options, you don't need them. We can show you how to do it without them as well. So just a fun recipe that's very kid-friendly, and kind of a fun appetizer as well. Sneaks little vegetables in. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and change my view so you guys can see what I'm doing. So before we get started with any recipe, of course, the first thing we're going to want to do is wash our hands. So we're going to be washing our hands for 20 seconds with hot soapy water. If you're with the kiddos, you can sing ABCs or happy birthday twice, making sure we're getting all the surfaces of our hands. We're also going to be sanitizing our countertops, washing and sanitizing our countertops to get rid of any dirt or debris, and then sanitizing to make sure they're nice and clean. Finally, we're going to go ahead and set up our mise en place. So it has been a little while, so let's review. Mise en place is getting your mess in place. So like we like to joke at Cooking Matters, but it's just putting everything out for a recipe. So you'll see here in my chef's view, all of my ingredients are set out. This way I don't have to run into my cabinets and realize that I am out of something halfway in between my recipe. Side note, I did not get zucchini for today's recipe, so we are going to be skipping it, which is okay. So you can adapt recipes for your needs and what you have on hand, and today's going to be a great example of that. So let's go ahead and get started now that we got our mise en place, and as well as all of our produce has been rinsed as well. That is part of our mise en place. So our produce is rinsed, the tops of our cans are rinsed, and everything is set out and ready to go. So with this recipe, like I said, it's kind of all thrown together, which is really nice. So we start actually with grating carrots and zucchini. So if you have both, you can do both. So I only had carrots on hand, and I actually pre-grated these, you'll see. When you're in the store, there are some graded options that you can buy ahead of time. Keep in mind you are paying for somebody else to do that work, so they might be a little bit more expensive. If you get just a regular carrot, wash it, or excuse me, rinse it, and then grate it yourself, it can be a little bit cheaper. So I grated my own today, and then I used a box grater to go ahead and grate my carrots. So you can use a box grater, of course, being careful of our knuckles. If you scrape your knuckles on this box grater, it is going to hurt really bad. So that's one option. If you don't have a box grater, you can use another grater that you have on hand, or of course, you can use your knife to chop it. And I'm just going to quickly show you how to create little, just little sticks like over here. So I went ahead and of course reviewing our knife skills before we get started. It has been a little while. We're going to go ahead and pinch our blade and wrap our fingers around, and that again is just the proper way to hold our knife. So we can go ahead and start cutting. I went ahead and took the top of the carrot off, and then of course it's rolling around on me, so I'm going to create a flat surface so it doesn't roll around on me anymore. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go down the side and create kind of like little planks. So you'll see here, I just kind of have this nice little plank. And then what we can do is we can gather these up, and then we just kind of plank again. And this is kind of just a nice little matchstick cut. And then you can just cut down again. So that's just kind of a quick, easy way to do it. If you don't have a grater on hand, you can definitely do it this way. They will be a little bit chunkier with the vegetables, which is okay. If you have kiddos that maybe don't like carrots or don't like zucchini, you can mince them just like this and just make them a little bit finer. That way you're not getting a huge chunk of the vegetable and they won't taste them as much. So there's a couple options here that you can do if you don't have some of these, you know, gadgets in your kitchen. Sometimes when I see a recipe, it can be kind of intimidating to see gadgets on the recipe that I don't have, but a lot of these recipes can be adapted. So that's what we are doing today.
If you do have a grater, though, it would be a great place to get the kids involved with this, with this recipe. Obviously not younger kids, probably older kids, closer to that like 10, 12, 13 age. With parent supervision, if you want to get them in there and show them how to carefully grate the carrots, it can be a really fun way to get your kids in the kitchen and just have them be a little bit more involved into the cooking process.
Yeah, when kids are involved in the cooking process, they're a little bit more invested and they kind of like to eat the product a little more. So, it's always a good idea to get your kids in the kitchen. Sometimes it can be a little difficult, but sometimes it can be a really fun time as well. So. Next, we're going to go ahead and chop up our onions. So we need 1/4 cup of minced onion. So I'm just going to quickly chop my onion. I'm going to take this fuzzy part off as well as this pointy part. So I took that pointy part off and our fuzzy part here. And then I'm going to go ahead and just chop it in half. We're probably not going to need the full onion today. We only need 1/4 cup. So I'll just start with 1/2 and see where we got. Of course, with these vegetable scraps that we have here, it's always a good idea to save them. You can make a vegetable broth out of them, which is really nice. So anything like these onion scraps we have in a pile over here, you can use, as well as the carrots that I had on hand as well. So we're going to go ahead and just create, we're going to use these natural lines on our onion and just cut down this way first. Of course, we're going to try to remember our claw. I'm still working on this skill myself. So if you are working on your knife skills too, it takes a little time to get used to these.
I did want to note, so with today's recipe, we don't need the entire onion, but if you have time and you're able to cut that whole onion and you'll be needing it for a future recipe, that's kind of a short like meal prep tip. It's not completely prepping a whole meal, but ingredient prep is kind of the better word for that. To save you time later on.
Yeah, and onions tend to be the base of a lot of different recipes. I know every time I'm cooking, it seems like grab an onion, start cutting. So.
And grab a garlic.
Yep, there you go. So we're going to go ahead, now that we created these little slices here, we're going to cut down the other way and make it dice. And then once we get to the end, I like to lay it down and then just continue cutting because of course we paid for this onion. We don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to go ahead and mince it. I actually might need to use the other half, but we'll see. And of course, this isn't going to be in a chicken nugget. So you probably don't want too big a chunks of onion in there. But again, this recipe, you can actually just throw all of the ingredients in a food processor and have it ready. So you might not have to worry about that too much. I would still encourage you to chop this down a little bit, just in case. It wouldn't be very appetizing if you got a huge chunk of onion in your veggie nuggets.
That's a good point.
So, again, another nice throw together recipe to have on hand for those busy weeknights. I know on Mondays it's really hard for me to cook, so I like to have something on hand that's easy.
While Jordan's working that, I do want to talk a little bit about like some other things that we could be prepping ahead, snacks. I think this would work as an awesome snack, especially for the kiddos, perhaps for lunchtime, especially if it's prepped in advance. And so I wanted to go over some snack suggestions that we have with Cooking Matters. One of my favorites is doing like fruit kebabs, which is a fun way to eat fruit and encourage fruit consumption among young ones. You can do a fruit salad, and that can really include a variety of different fruits. Blueberries, apples, pineapples, even if you're using peaches, banana, kiwi, all kinds of things will work well with that. Your fruit salad is really your fruit salad. I also wanted to talk about perhaps doing like peanut butter sticks on celery, so like ants on a log, that kind of feel. That's a wonderful, quick and easy tip. Great way to incorporate a little bit more veg, a little bit of protein with that peanut butter, and then technically you are getting your fruit with those raisins. So you want to make sure that you're counting that. Making your own trail mix. Oh, that's been very helpful for me, especially working at home and I'm looking for a quick and easy snack. You can really add a lot of variety to that with the different kinds of dried fruits and nuts. And you get to customize it to your preference, which is my favorite thing. You can also try making cucumber sandwiches. So using 2 halves of a cucumber, cut it into thin slices, and then in between them, you can put in some turkey, some cheese, that kind of stuff. And you kind of make a little sandwich. And so that's a really fun way to use up a cucumber if you have one kind of sitting in your fridge. And then finally, I did want to talk about perhaps doing frozen fruit poppers. If you have a bit of a sweet tooth, this is a really great way to really scratch that itch. You can rinse and peel your fruits, cut them into bite-sized pieces, pop them in the freezer, and then pull them out whenever you're ready to eat them. So very easy, very like hands-free, not much thought to it. And those are just some quick and easy snacks that you could be incorporating into your day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sajwa. So this recipe, as Sajwa was saying, can be a really awesome snack recipe, especially if they're prepped ahead of time. So you can prep these ahead of time, absolutely. And I'll show you later how I did that. So we do have a fourth a cup now is just kind of throwing all of our ingredients into one bowl and mixing them together. So I have my carrot here, a half a cup of carrot with our fourth a cup of onion. So the carrot is a little moist. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take, I have already done this, but you can take some paper towels and just kind of squeeze it out a little bit to get some of that moisture out of there. So we're gonna put our carrot in. And then we're just going to throw all of our ingredients in there. So the star of the show now is our chickpeas. So this is kind of funny. I wanted to show everyone that you can make this recipe without a blender or a food processor. So I went ahead and actually mashed these prior. So what you can do is you take a can of chickpeas, and I went ahead and rinsed them because of course we're trying to get rid of that sodium that's in there. So I rinsed the chickpeas, and then I went ahead and mashed them. So you can use like a masher, like a potato masher like this to start, and then you use a fork and just continue to mash these chickpeas. Of course, if you have a food processor, you can be throwing all of these ingredients that I'm throwing in my bowl in a food processor and combining them that way. So we're going to go ahead and throw our chickpeas in, which is just a full can of chickpeas. And then we have some breadcrumbs. So I'm using breadcrumbs today. You can use like I believe the recipe says like an oat flour as well. There's a few different options. There are whole wheat breadcrumbs out there, so keep an eye out for those. We are using a half a cup of breadcrumbs today, and these just kind of, you know, help them stay together, give them a little bit of that nice flavor. Next is our seasoning. So I have a half a tablespoon of Italian seasoning, some pepper, a quarter teaspoon of some smoked paprika, and then just a little bit of salt.
That smoked paprika is really gonna elevate those nuggets. I love that seasoning for all kinds of meals. Oh,
I know. I love the smoked paprika. That's all we buy anymore.
mhm. Got spoiled.
Yeah. So we, you know, you can always add different seasonings to this as you'd like. I've made this before and I like to add a little bit of garlic powder and onion powder, of course. Those are my favorites. But we are, of course, going to add some garlic, of course.
Gotta add that garlic. You know, Jordan, I was just wondering, where's the garlic at?
We've got 2 teaspoons of minced garlic there, roughly 2 cloves. We're not going to miss those. Now, the thing that's going to hold it all together, we're going to use 2 large eggs to hold it all together. So, making sure we're not getting any eggshells. I'm not quite to the point where I can open an egg with one hand. Someday,
Someday, yeah.
someday I'll get there. Just takes practice. So, and now we just mix it all together. This might take, and it's, don't, if you're using a food processor to do this, don't over mix it. You don't want it to be mushy. You just kind of want it to be combined together. Maybe chop up these ingredients a little bit more. But just keep in mind, they're supposed to be, you know, kind of form little, like a ball, so then you can make them into a chicken nugget. Well, a chicken nugget shape, I should say.
A chickpea nugget.
There you go, chickpea nugget.
So, you know, today we are using our chickpeas. What a wonderful protein resource. They're packed with nutrients. They're low cost. They're easy to work with. Like Jordan mentioned, she just drained hers, rinsed hers, and mashed hers for this occasion. And Jordan, feel free to pop in whenever you need, of course. But I just wanted to talk today about some other beans that might be great, if not for this recipe, for other recipes or other things that you might use them for. Dried beans are actually a really great way to use beans. Are we moving to the next step?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you guys and we'll get back to our beans after Jordan's done.
We won't forget about our beans. So we're just gonna go ahead and set this to the side. Don't worry, Sajwa, we'll be cooking our chickpea nuggets here in a minute, and we'll have a few minutes for some nutrition education.
Awesome.
So we're gonna go ahead and just quickly make our sauce. We want this ready right when our chickpeas are done. Once they're hot and off of the pan, that is kind of the best flavor for them. So we went ahead and I had, let's see here, just like, there we go, a cup of, I am using a Greek plain yogurt today. You can use like a regular plain yogurt if you want to, but I prefer Greek. It's got a little protein in it. So I'm just doing a plain Greek yogurt today. So over here to the side, I am kind of picking off my cilantro leaves. So this could be kind of a fun little option for the smaller kiddos, just kind of breaking up these leaves.
Yeah, or measuring out that yogurt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But lots of different ways we can get our kids involved in the kitchen. I do not want to cut this on my cutting board because there is onion all over it. So I really don't want onion in my sauce today. So I'm just kind of pulling them apart, which is totally fine. We just want to get that flavor in there. Next, we're going to go ahead and squeeze lime in there. So I've got a half a lime here. You can roll your limes and it will actually, you know, release some of that juice. This was just an extra one I had on hand. So I'm just going to squeeze that lime juice in really quick.
If I recall, you can also pop that lime in the microwave for about 10 seconds or less to help kind of warm it up and break up those membranes to release more of that juice too.
Absolutely. Lots of different ways we can do that.
I mean, that lime, that would be a fun place for kids to get in, squeezing out all the juice. I could definitely hear their little giggles.
All right, so we got our cilantro, we got our lime, and now the thing that kind of brings it all together is our chipotle peppers. So this is the pepper that I'm using today. This is really important that you get a certain type of pepper, the chipotle peppers, because they have that nice smoky flavor. These are a little spicy, so you only need to add one pepper. If you add more, of course, it will be more spicy, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Um, the first time I tried it, I realized how hot it was, so please just remember that. I'm just going to quickly grab the
For
different.
one of my classes where we did this Chipotle yogurt dip, we ended up adding a little bit more yogurt to kind of cool off that spice for those who aren't able to really take that kind of heat. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Also, if you're a little nervous about the heat too, we have done it where I have used just like half of the actual pepper, but we used a little bit of the juice that the peppers are kind of sitting in.
Absolutely.
Or choosing a smaller one. There's quite a bit of variety in size in there. So
Yeah. Oh, they smell so good. I love the way they smell.
yeah.
All right. And of course, I like to save these. I pop mine in the freezer actually to save them because I don't use them all at once. But of course, if you like to eat them, you can just keep them in your fridge. So I'm just going to quickly run my knife through this and cut them up a little bit. I'm just using a paring knife real quick. All right. And then we'll just quickly throw that in our sauce.
Just like that.
And then, yeah, it's just that easy. Um, and it goes really nicely with these veggie nuggets as well. So now we're just going to stir that all together. I kind of like to let it sit for a little while. Of course, a lot of these, like the cilantro, is definitely optional. I always tell people that not everybody can taste cilantro. So if you don't like cilantro, you don't have to add that in. But we got a beautiful sauce on the side, and now we can finally start forming our chicken nuggets here. So what we can actually do, I just go ahead and grab them and form them into just like cookies almost. I form them into a ball. Then I like to set them aside on a plate here. And then of course I'll try to make it look like a chicken nugget.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I'm hoping for. So I just go along the line and do that. So this is where you can actually prep your chicken nuggets like this and just put them in the fridge, and then you have them ready so to throw in the pan the next time you're ready. But I didn't want you guys to have to wait around for me, so I went ahead and prepped some ahead of time. And these are kind of what I have prepped ahead of time. So it's just a whole bunch of chicken nuggets in there, or excuse me, chickpea nuggets. So,
And just a quick tip, if you do have little small cookie cutters, you could get some really awesome shapes going there, which I know will make, hey, there you go, which will make, the experience all the more fun for the little ones to get involved and then also to eat them later. You've got the vegetables, you've got them engaged in the cooking and the prep process, and then fun shapes too. I mean, come on.
absolutely. So you can just kind of roll it out like a sugar cookie and just kind of stamp them down. And then you'll just fry that whole thing. So we are going to be frying our our chickpea nuggets. My goodness, I'm having trouble with that. Really quick. So I'm just going to quickly fry these. And they turn out pretty much the same. These have been in the fridge for a little while, so I just want to warm them up and kind of brown them. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm using an olive oil today. Of course, you can use a canola oil. You can use whatever else you have on hand, but I just have canola oil on, olive oil on hand.
Hey Jordan, is there any chance you can adjust not your chef view, but your other? Yes, very perfect. Right on it. Wonderful.
All right.
So we're just boiling up our pan. Okay.
All right, so just coating the bottom of the pan. We don't need too much oil. And I'm kind of a little bit higher heat, about medium high heat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw these in the pan. This is how we cook our fish too, so it's kind of like a fish fry to me. But yeah, you just throw these all in there together, and then we'll probably cook them about 3 minutes on each side.
Oh, that's very quick. Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty quick, pretty easy. And they're just starting to cook now. So we got a little time for some nutrition education.
That's my cue. So you guys, earlier we were just chatting a bit about some beans, and I was getting to the point of talking about dried beans. and ways to use them. So I know with a lot of our Cooking Matters recipes, we do tend to get the canned beans. You know, just the sheer fact of convenience. They're already cooked. You can pretty much rinse and go and use them as such, but dried beans can be just as easy. So I want to go through the process of using them. Before you soak your beans, you are going to want to make sure you clean them. So sort through those dried beans or lentils, throw away there any discoloration. They might be shriveled or any like, you know, pebbles, little debris like that you might find in there. It is coming from the ground as much of our food does, you know, it's natural. So go ahead and just pick those little things out. And then you're going to want to soak your beans. So to soak your beans, you can do an overnight soak or a quick soak. An overnight soak is you're going to want to fill a bowl up with 3 cups of cold water per 1 cup of beans. And you're going to just leave your beans in there overnight, 8 to 12 hours at room temperature. And then in the morning time, your beans need to just be drained, rinsed, and you're ready to go. So that's kind of a hands-off approach to, you know, working with those dried beans. To do the quick soak, you are going to want to fill a pot with water, add your beans, and then allow those beans to come to a boil. You'll boil those beans for about 5 minutes, turn off the heat, cover, and let them soak for about an hour. After that process, you're going to want to drain and rinse your beans, and then you're free to go ahead and cook. So there are plenty of recipes to cook dried beans or any kind of beans, but I can give you just a quick overview of what that cooking process looks like. What you'll want to do is add enough water to cover your dried beans or lentils by 2 inches. Then you're going to let your beans simmer for 30 minutes to 2 hours or until cooked. And I mean, that can vary depending on the lentil or beans that you're using. And then you might want to add a little bit of water as you go to keep them from drying out. So just keep an eye on those beans. And then you'll know that your beans or lentils are done cooking when they're easy to break open with a fork. So just keep that in mind. You can use those beans right away, or you can store them in the refrigerator or freezer. Oftentimes I like to make black beans in advance, like a big bulk of dried beans, and use them for taco night, any kind of other recipes that I'll be doing, and I'll just pop them in the freezer. And then after I've cooked them and seasoned them and everything, pop them in the freezer. And then when I need them, I take them out, microwave them, and they're good to go. And so that's a really quick and easy way to go about that. How are we looking on those nuggets, Jordan? Still doing good?
Yep, they are about ready.
Okay, well, about ready means I have about a few more minutes to go through a little bit more nutrition. That's right, guys. I'm trying to squeeze all of that nutrition in there. And so what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about our nutrition label reading. So it's been a while since we've done this, but hopefully you guys can see my, yes, you guys can kind of see that. This is my little label. I want to talk about the nutrition facts panel. When you're reading your nutrition label, make sure that you're looking at your serving size right at the top underneath where it says nutrition facts. That's where you'll find the serving size and your serving per container. So that'll really help you stay on track with how much you're eating and how much nutrients, vitamins and nutrients you're getting out of that serving. So for example, with this nutrition label, the serving size is 1 cup. So in 1 cup of this anonymous item, you're going to be getting 60 calories out of that 1 cup. Okay, now if I were to have 2 cups of this food item, I would have to double that. So instead of it just being 60 calories, we're working our way up to 120. And that's the case with not just calories, but also fat, sugar, sodium, fiber, all of those things. You're going to want to make sure that you're doubling it if you're doubling the serving size. I love to remind my participants, the nutrition facts panel, it's talking about per serving size. Okay, so that's why it's really important to really take note of that. Another thing I want to just show you guys is kind of where to spot those things. So I have sodium down here, and then I have my sugars below. And then we have this percentage, and maybe it's not showing up clearly on this example. I'll just pull up my other one that is a little bit more clear for you all. Here we go. Yes, that's a lot better. So we have our that percentage on the side. And I know you might be wondering, like, what could that be? So this is called percent daily value, that percent that you're seeing on that nutrition facts. And that gives you a very good generalized idea of how much of whatever, protein, carbs, cholesterol, fat, how much of that is from your entire daily serving. So for example, with our fat on this label, it says 6%. So the fat from this item on this label would make up about 6% of what you should have in the whole day. A good rule of thumb when you're looking at percent daily value is if it's 5% or lower, it's considered low, okay? And if it's 15 or 20 and higher, it's considered high. So something like sugar, if I'm seeing 5%, I would consider that item, a low sugar option. If I'm seeing, 15, 20, and it's getting higher, I'm considering that a high sugar option. So things that you want to be high would be fiber. You want protein to be high. You really want those things to have a higher percent daily value. Things that you want to be low would probably be your fats, your sugar, and your sodium. You want that to be low, so 5% or less. And so just keep that in mind. Also, the same goes when it comes to vitamins, which is just below all of the other macronutrients right there. So we have vitamin A, vitamin C, iron, calcium. All of those things are there. Keep that in mind. So with this particular nutrition label, vitamin A is 20%. So this item would be a high. I would consider that high in vitamin A. So it's a good source for vitamin A, especially vitamin C. Look at that at 60%. So that's just a little quick guide for reading your labels. I really like using percent daily value. It really keeps me on track when I'm reading labels. Again, you guys don't forget to look at those serving sizes. And as you increase your serving size, go ahead and increase the nutrition facts label. So,
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandra. Speaking of nutrition facts labels, a lot of recipes do have nutrition facts labels. So, for nuggets, and it has, I believe it's like 230 calories and it has 12 grams of protein. So we're getting lots of vegetables, lots of protein, really great options. So this is what they're kind of going to look like. I just bake them till they're a little, or excuse me, fry them till they're a little golden brown, and then pair them with that beautiful sauce. With the sauce, just keep in mind with those chili peppers, the more you mince them, the more you're going to taste them. So if you want that flavor, mince them a little bit more. So that is our chickpea veggie nugget.
all right. So looks like we're at the end of today's episode of Cooking Connected. Again, we did that chickpea veggie nugget. I almost said it. And we want to thank thenaturalnurturer.com for that again. Also check out the Chipotle yogurt dip recipe. All of that is in the description box of today's video. And just a quick reminder about today's survey. If you guys could take a moment to take that, that would be very helpful to us. Our program code today is going to be E098987. Again, that's the program code for this week's episode of Cooking Connected. And we just want to say thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.